Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're plunging into a truth that might surprise you, particularly in our sleek, technology-driven world. We've inadvertently engineered movement out of our lives. And here's the most compelling, almost ironic part. We've done it at the expense of the very brains that evolved for the profound need to move. It's a disconnect with deep, unsettling implications for how we think, feel, and learn.
It's a paradox, isn't it? For, well, 500,000 years, our thinking brain didn't develop in isolation. It was intimately tied to the need to hone motor skills, to hunt, to gather, to, survive. This deep connection between physical activity and learning is quite literally hardwired into our brain's most fundamental circuitry. Our mission today is to truly unpack this profound relationship, drawing extensively from the groundbreaking insights in John J. Ratey's book, Spark. We're going to reveal how movement doesn't just keep your body fit, but actively grows, repairs, and optimizes your brain from the inside out.
So if this connection is truly hardwired, what does that mean for us right now? We're not just talking about feeling good. We're talking about what could be described as a biological cheat code, a profound, often overlooked shortcut. A shortcut to better learning, improved mood, sharper attention, and incredible resilience. Our goal is to transform exercise from something you feel you should do into something you genuinely want to do, by showing you the undeniable science of how it allows you to influence your own biology and truly thrive. Let's unpack this modern dilemma because, frankly, it represents a profound sedentary threat to our very brains, our incredible human capacity to dream, to plan, to create the very society that now often shields us from our biological imperative to move. It's ironically rooted in the very areas of the brain that actually govern movement. Think about our hunter-gatherer ancestors. They weren't just relying on brute physical prowess. Their survival depended on using their intellect, their planning skills, their spatial reasoning to find, track, and store food. That relationship between physical activity, finding sustenance, and learning is woven deep into our evolutionary fabric.
And this disruption of our innate nature poses one of the biggest threats to our collective well-being. The statistics are stark, almost shouting for attention. 65% of adults in the U.S. are now overweight or obese, and a staggering 10% have type 2 diabetes. What's even more alarming is that this isn't just an adult health crisis. It's an epidemic now profoundly impacting our children. But beyond the visible physical toll, a more disturbing fact, often unrecognized, is that inactivity isn't just damaging our bodies, it is physically shriveling our brains.
Physically shriveling. That's a truly visceral image. Can you elaborate on that? What's the fundamental concept at play here about how the brain responds to activity, or frankly, its absence? Is it truly like a muscle in that sense?
It's precisely like a muscle in its fundamental response.
Yeah.
The brain grows with use and, well, it withers with inactivity. Imagine the neurons in your brain connecting to one another through these tree-like branches known as dendrites. When stimulated by consistent exercise, these branches literally grow and bloom with new buds, expanding their reach and connectivity. This enhances brain function at the most fundamental cellular level. It's a remarkable parallel to how muscles respond to physical training.
That's fascinating. So what's actually happening at that micro level within the brain cells themselves?
Great. Delving into the nascent field of neuroscientists studying exercise's impact within brain cells, right down to the gene level. Well, we find truly groundbreaking insights. They've discovered that when you move your muscles, your body produces specific proteins. Two key examples are insulin-like growth factor, or IGF-1, and vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF. What's crucial here is that these aren't just local muscle proteins. They travel through your bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier, and enter the brain. Once there, they play pivotal roles in our highest thought processes, influencing neuron growth and overall brain health. This provides an unprecedented view of the profound mind-body connection, offering life-changing insights into how we can proactively influence our own biology and brain function.
We've established how fundamental movement is to our brain's very design. But what if the benefits go beyond just basic brain health? What if, for example, consistent physical activity could genuinely make you smarter? That sounds like a bold claim. Where have we seen this kind of paradigm shift in action, showing a direct link between exercise and academic performance?
Yeah, it does sound bold, but a truly compelling example emerged in Naperville, Illinois, in their school district. They implemented a unique physical education program that radically departed from traditional team sports, focusing instead on teaching lifelong fitness. This was a stark contrast to typical gym class experiences, which, often alienated non-athletic kids. Their philosophy was about fostering lifelong health habits and a genuine love for movement, aiming to empower every single student.
I understand a visionary PE teacher, Phil Lawler, kicked this off. What was his motivation for this radical shift, and what challenges did he face initially?
Phil Lawler, yeah, he was a junior high PE teacher. He initiated this movement back in 1990. He was driven by growing concerns about the decline of children's health, and he felt his profession, PE, was often undervalued, with schools frequently cutting funding. He saw an opportunity to make his role truly meaningful. Lawler quickly observed that in traditional team sports, many kids simply stood around, getting minimal actual physical activity. So he pivoted, making cardiovascular fitness the core. He started requiring students to run the mile every week. As you can imagine, there were groans, complaints, even doctor's notes initially. It wasn't immediately popular.
So how did Lawler respond to that initial resistance? He must have had to rethink the whole grading system if it was discouraging so many students. What did he change to truly make it about effort for everyone, not just skill or natural athletic ability?
He was indeed undeterred, and this is where his true genius came in. He realized the traditional grading scale unfairly penalized slower runners. So to give every student a fair shot, regardless of their athletic starting point, they bought Airdyne bikes for extra credit. Any kid who put in the work could earn an A. This led to their foundational principle. Students would be assessed on effort rather than inherent skill.
Right.
If you achieved a personal best, you moved up a letter grade, irrespective of how fast you were compared to others. This completely changed the game, shifting the focus from competition to individual improvement.
That's a crucial shift. The zero-hour case study at Naperville Central High School really brings this to life. How did they apply this effort over skill philosophy in practice, and what kind of dedication did it demand from students?
The zero-hour program at Naperville Central High School is a perfect illustration. Freshmen started their day with gym at 7:10 a.m., pretty early. Students wore heart rate monitors, which were key to assessing effort, not just skill. The goal was to maintain an average heart rate above 185 beats per minute. Consider Michelle. She ran a 10-minute mile, which might not seem exceptionally fast, but her average heart rate during that run was 191.
Okay.
That's a serious, sustained cardiovascular workout. She earned an A for her rigorous effort, not her speed. This truly revolutionary concept shows that putting in the work, pushing your physiological limits, is what matters most for brain benefits.
And what were the academic results of this fitness-first approach? Were they able to demonstrate a tangible link between this intense physical activity and scholastic achievement?
The academic results were nothing short of astonishing, really. In 1999, Naperville's 8th graders participated in the TIMSS test, a rigorous international standard for math and science. Their performance was incredible. They ranked 6th in math and an astounding 1st in the world in science.
First in the world.
First in the world. They literally outperformed students in academic powerhouses like China, Japan, and Singapore. What's even more remarkable is that this success came despite the district spending significantly less per pupil than other top-tier public schools in Illinois. It challenged conventional wisdom about what truly drives academic excellence.
So this wasn't just an isolated success story in Naperville. Does broader research support the idea that physical fitness correlates with academic performance?
Absolutely. When we connect this to the bigger picture, broader studies consistently support Naperville's findings. For instance, the California Department of Education has shown for years that students with higher fitness scores consistently have higher academic test scores. What's even more compelling is that this benefit isn't limited by socioeconomic status. Fitter, lower-income students in these studies actually scored better than their unfit peers. This strongly suggests that exercise could be a powerful tool to help break cycles of socioeconomic disadvantage. Furthermore, a panel of 13 researchers, after reviewing over 850 studies on this topic, recommended 1 hour or more of moderate to vigorous physical activity daily, citing its significant positive influence on memory, concentration, and classroom behavior. It's a consistent finding across the board.
So it's clearly not just about physical fitness. It's about building brains and cultivating social skills. How did Naperville move beyond just fitness and integrate these broader developmental goals into their PE program?
This is where Paul Zientarski, Naperville Central's PE coordinator, truly became instrumental. Phil Lawler chose him as the capable agitator to carry the torch forward. Zientarski redefined his role. He wasn't just a drill sergeant anymore. He saw himself as a sculptor of bodies, brains, and minds.
That's quite a title.
It is. His core vision was to ensure students didn't just participate in physical activity, but that they truly knew how to keep themselves fit for life. It was about empowering them with knowledge and habits.
That's a significant shift in philosophy. What kind of innovative programs or facilities did they implement to support this vision?
Well, they invested heavily in state-of-the-art gym facilities. This wasn't your typical dusty high school gym. They had tri-fit assessment machines, custom weights designed for younger students, climbing walls, even video game-based aerobic machines that made fitness fun.
Like Dance Dance Revolution.
Exactly, things like that. Students were encouraged to design and track their own personalized fitness plans, becoming active participants in their health journey. Upon graduation, each student received a comprehensive 14-page health assessment, combining their fitness scores with vital stats like blood pressure, cholesterol, and family health history. This astonishingly holistic approach empowered students to manage their lifelong health proactively. Ziantarski also emphasized cooperation over competition, which led to very few injuries, for instance, on their climbing wall. He recounts a powerful story of a bookish, somewhat heavy-set girl named Stephanie who got stuck on the climbing wall, and her classmates spontaneously cheered her all the way to the top, a powerful example of the community support and confidence building that permeated the program.
What's truly brilliant, and perhaps most unexpected, is their mandatory freshman square dancing class. That sounds wildly out of place in a modern high school.
Yeah.
How did that fit into this fitness and social development philosophy?
It sounds unusual, doesn't it? But it's actually incredibly insightful. The square dancing class was designed to use structured movement as a framework for teaching crucial social skills in a non-toxic, low-pressure setting. Students started with scripts for conversation starters, practicing basic interaction.
Seriously, scripts?
Yes, scripts. After each dance, they switched partners, gradually interacting without scripts. The final exam. Remembering 10 facts about a partner after a 15-minute chat. This incremental approach helped socially timid kids practice interaction, acting as both a distraction from their anxiety and a significant confidence builder. In this context, exercise becomes a powerful social lubricant, reducing anxiousness and priming the brain for positive social memories. It's genius.
That's a remarkable approach to social-emotional learning through movement. Let's hear about Jesse Wolfram's compelling journey, which perfectly encapsulates these benefits. How did Naperville's approach transform her, particularly as someone who self-identified as a nerd and was initially quite shy?
Jesse Wolfram's story is a beautiful testament to this program. She was a self-described nerd and straight-A student, extremely shy and socially anxious, often relying on her twin sister for support. She even chose piano over soccer specifically because of her fear of interacting with other girls. But mandatory gym class pushed her outside her comfort zone. She eventually enrolled in kayaking, a skill-intensive sport she unexpectedly excelled at. This success, outside of academics, genuinely transformed her. It made her more adventurous, allowed her to break free from feeling like the person who faded into the wallpaper.
Right.
And importantly, the swimming pool, where much of this training happened, leveled the social playing field for her.
That's a powerful internal shift. What's even more striking is how attuned Jessie and her sister became to exercise's role in their cognitive performance, even applying it to high-stake situations like the SATs.
This is where their understanding truly deepened. Emboldened by kayaking, Jessie joined the Adventure Club, an ad hoc zero-hour group that allowed for extra time on the climbing wall and in the pool. Here's the most striking part. Jessie and her twin sister were so keenly aware of how exercise helped them focus that they actually went kayaking the morning of their SATs.
No way. Kayaking before the SATs?
Yes. They showed up cold and wet, but as Jessie put it, they felt awake and incredibly focused, leading to an impressive combined score of 1,400. Even in college, whenever stress mounted, Jessie and her roommate would run laps on the dorm stairs. A strategy she learned in Naperville to manage her brain with exercise. She realized exercise spikes up her brain activity and became a vital, healthy coping mechanism, a relief to fall back on instead of resorting to less healthy alternatives. Her story vividly demonstrates the direct, immediate link between exercise and peak cognitive performance.
Okay, let's unpack this further and truly understand the profound mind-body connection. How does exercise rebuild and optimize your brain at a fundamental evolutionary level?
It begins with evolution itself. Rodolphe Linas, a renowned neurophysiologist, argues quite simply that only a mobile creature actually needs a brain. He offers a fascinating, almost darkly humorous example of the sea squirt. This little creature is born with a simple brain and motors around in the ocean. It eventually finds its ideal spot on a rock or coral, attaches itself, and then, get this, it quite literally eats its own brain.
Wow.
Because once it's sessile, once it no longer needs to move, that brain becomes completely obsolete. It's a powerful, if somewhat brutal, evolutionary testament to the brain's fundamental purpose. As our own species evolved, the very physical skills our ancestors needed for hunting and gathering, the need for navigation, spatial awareness, and fine motor control directly led to the development of abstract abilities such as planning, sequencing, and complex problem solving. The brain circuits our ancient ancestors used to start a fire, for example, are surprisingly the same ones we use today to learn a new language like French.
That's a truly compelling way to think about it. The brain as a tool for movement. And when we do move, which specific brain regions are engaged and how do they benefit?
What's fascinating here is how exercise engages multiple key brain areas simultaneously. First, there's the cerebellum, which has long been known for coordinating motor movements. But increasingly, we understand it also coordinates thoughts, attention, emotions, and even social skills. I often think of it as the brain's rhythm and blues center because of its role in timing and coordination, not just physical, but cognitive and emotional. When we perform complex motor movements, we solidify neural connections across this vast network integrating these functions. Then there's the prefrontal cortex, which is essentially the boss of the brain.
The CEO.
Exactly. It organizes all mental and physical activity, responsible for crucial executive functions like working memory, inhibiting distracting stimuli, initiating action, judging, planning, and predicting. It maintains close, constant communication with the motor cortex, highlighting that the physical and mental are deeply intertwined.
And we can't forget the hippocampus, which I think of as the brain's cartographer. What role does it play, particularly in learning and memory, and how does exercise enhance its function?
The hippocampus is indeed vital. It serves as a crucial way station for learning and memory, acting as a kind of integration hub. It receives fragmented pieces of information from various parts of the cortex, bundles them into new patterns of connections, and then sends these integrated memories back to the prefrontal cortex for storage and recall. Scientists now believe a memory isn't just one single thing, but a collection of these fragments dispersed throughout the brain, and the hippocampus is essential for mapping them all together. Exercise profoundly impacts this region.
This brings us to a truly pivotal discovery, something you refer to as the brain's miracle grow. Tell us about BDNF and why it's so revolutionary for our understanding of brain health.
A truly game-changing discovery occurred in 1995 when a one-page article in Nature revealed that exercise elevates brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, throughout the brain, particularly in the hippocampus. Carl Kottmann, who designed that initial study on mice, expected to see changes in motor sensory areas. But when he saw the significant increase in the hippocampus, he knew it changed the game completely.
Wow.
BDNF literally nourishes neurons, acting like a powerful fertilizer that encourages growth and strengthens connections. It's crucial for learning and memory formation. As Kottmann succinctly put it, if you're in good shape, you may be able to learn and function more efficiently. A follow-up 2007 German study even showed that people learned vocabulary words 20% faster after exercise, and this improvement directly correlated with their BDNF levels.
Okay, so our brains have their own miracle grow. But here's something even more radical: neurogenesis. For much of the 20th century, scientific dogma held that once fully developed, our brains were hardwired, and we were born with all the neurons we'd ever get. Alcohol kills brain cells and they never grow back.
Yeah.
Your 8th grade biology teacher might have warned. What's the truth behind this now?
That old dogma has been thoroughly overturned, thankfully. And yes, they do grow back by the thousands. Conclusive evidence for this process, called neurogenesis, emerged in 1998 from an unlikely source: cancer patients who had been injected with a special dye that marked dividing cells.
Okay.
Researchers found that their hippocampi were packed with the dye marker, proving unequivocally that neurons were dividing and propagating throughout life. This was one of the biggest and most exciting discoveries in neuroscience in decades.
That's a truly paradigm-shifting discovery. So these new brain cells, these blank slates, what do they need to thrive, and how does exercise facilitate that?
A key insight here is that these newborn neurons are essentially blank slate stem cells. They are born, but they don't automatically integrate into the existing neural networks. For them to survive and become functional, they need to fire their axons and plug into existing networks. This is called activity-dependent learning.
Use it or lose it, basically.
Exactly. If we don't use them, we literally lose them. Scientists now intentionally use exercise in labs because it massively increases neurogenesis. They're even hoping this understanding provides a blueprint for potential anti-Alzheimer's drugs, envisioning a pill that could regenerate neurons to keep memory intact. They're actively trying to identify the specific chemical pathways in the hippocampus that sense exercise and crank out new cells.
So if we pull all this together, how does exercise ultimately improve learning on multiple levels? What's a triple threat effect we should be aware of?
Exercise truly works as a triple threat for learning. It's quite elegant. First, it optimizes your mindset, improving immediate alertness, enhancing attention, and boosting motivation to engage with new information. So, you're ready to learn. Second, at a cellular level, it prepares and encourages existing nerve cells to bind to one another, which is the fundamental cellular basis for logging in new information and forming new memories. And third, it actively spurs the development of new nerve cells from stem cells right there in the hippocampus, expanding your brain's capacity. It's an incredible, multifaceted process that tackles learning from every angle.
Now let's talk about exercise as a prescription, a powerful tool for healing and strengthening the brain, particularly in the face of modern challenges. First, let's tackle stress. Most of us use the word stress indiscriminately for both the cause and the feeling, but biologically, what does stress truly represent?
Biologically speaking, stress is fundamentally a threat to the body's equilibrium, a demand for cellular activity and adaptation. It's a response designed for survival. Even something as simple as getting out of a chair is, biologically speaking, a mild stressor. It activates parts of the same pathways in the body and brain as, say, losing a job or facing a significant life event. Similarly, learning French or meeting new people are also forms of stress on the brain. The critical distinction is in degree, not in kind. Our bodies are designed to respond to these challenges.
And what's the surprising upside of mild periodic stress rather than chronic overwhelming stress?
A key insight here is the paradigm of stress and recovery. Mild periodic stress can actually strengthen brain cells against future demands, much like how vaccines work for the immune system.
Like hormesis.
Exactly, hormesis. There was a fascinating, though unpublished, U.S. Department of Energy study from the 1980s that tracked nuclear shipyard workers. The 28,000 workers exposed to very low levels of radiation actually had a 24% lower mortality rate than their non-exposed counterparts. Yeah. The radiation, a mild stressor, seemed to make their cells more resilient, more robust. Challenges, when delivered in limited doses and followed by adequate recovery, are precisely what allow our cells, and thus our brains, to strive, grow, and learn.
But here's the modern stress paradox.
Yeah.
Our inherited fight-or-flight response, designed for acute physical threats, now constantly fires due to relentless psychological stress, the 24/7 news cycle, constant digital demands, financial pressures, and crucially, there's no physical outlet for all that mobilized energy. What are the consequences of this mismatch between our ancient biology and modern life?
This mismatch leads to chronic elevation of cortisol, our primary stress hormone. High, sustained levels of cortisol are incredibly damaging. They don't just stockpile belly fat. They literally rob the thinking parts of the brain of fuel, redirecting resources to more primitive survival responses.
Over time,
Chronic cortisol can physically shrivel the hippocampus, the very brain region we discussed that is crucial for learning and memory.
back to the shriveling.
Exactly. This incessant flow of cortisol also clamps down on the immune system, leaving the body far more vulnerable to disease. It's a fundamental disconnect between our ancient genes and our modern, sedentary, high-stress lifestyle.
So if chronic unreleased stress is so damaging, how does exercise act as its natural countermeasure?
Exercise serves as the ideal natural countermeasure. It provides a predictable, controllable form of stress because you are initiating the action. The sense of personal control, of taking charge, significantly contributes to a feeling of mastery and self-confidence. On a physiological level, exercise increases the efficiency of intercellular energy production, ramps up cellular repair mechanisms throughout the body and brain, and crucially helps to keep cortisol levels in check. It also boosts key regulatory neurotransmitters like serotonin, which stabilizes mood, norepinephrine, which enhances alertness, and dopamine, which fuels motivation. This symphony of chemical changes helps the brain thrive and prevents the damaging effects of chronic stress.
My patient Susan provides a great anecdote here about finding a simple, immediate counter to stress. Tell us her story.
Susan, right. She was a highly energetic and active professional volunteer, found herself in a frustrating situation, stuck at home waiting for workmen, unable to get out and move. This idleness drove her to distraction. She found herself reaching for a glass of wine, then another, even before lunchtime, just to take the edge off her mounting tension. When I last saw her, she had taken a practical step. She now had jump ropes stashed around her house. She used those short bursts of intense activity to immediately feel more in control, physically relieving the tension and effectively rebooting her brain instead of resorting to wine for stress relief. She understood that she could actively influence her brain chemistry, and that became her powerful, immediate motivation.
That's such a tangible, immediate benefit. And For something more profound, what about the story of Dr. Robert Piles and his miracle cure?
Another powerful real-world impact comes from the incredible story of Dr. Robert Piles. In 1969, at just 33, he was given a death sentence. He was suffering from disseminated sarcoidosis, a severe cancer-like disease compounded by intense stress and crippling depression. Despite all medical advice to rest, he decided to take action, starting to run daily, building from a mere quarter mile to eventually running marathons.
From a quarter mile to marathon.
Yes. After 5 years, his disease had miraculously disappeared, something his doctors deemed a miracle cure. Dr. Piles himself attributed his recovery to running, which gave him a vital sense of control and reunited body and mind during a time when he felt utterly helpless. He found something he could actively do to regain agency over his life.
It's an incredible testament to the mind-body connection under extreme duress. And it seems companies are taking note of this in the workplace, too, encouraging employee exercise for practical benefits.
Indeed. More and more workplaces are encouraging employee exercise due to compelling studies showing increased productivity, better workload management, and reduced fatigue. For instance, a 2004 study in England found that workers who used their company's gym were not only more productive, but also felt significantly better able to handle their workloads. A remarkable 65% of them reported feeling better in all categories on days they exercised.
That's significant.
It really is. This clearly demonstrates that exercise combats stress-related diseases like arthritis, chronic fatigue, and fibromyalgia. It even significantly reduces cancer. Risk-active people have a 50% lower chance of colon cancer, and men over 65 have a 70% lower chance of advanced prostate cancer. The message is clear. The more stress you contend with, the more your body needs to move to keep your brain running smoothly and your health protected.
Let's turn our attention to anxiety. Many people experience worry, but what distinguishes clinical anxiety, and how does the brain lose perspective in these situations?
Clinical anxiety is more than just everyday worry. It's a profound sense of worry without a real, tangible threat. It's where the brain loses perspective and misinterprets benign situations as dangerous. This often stems from the amygdala, your brain's alarm center, not being effectively regulated or controlled by the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for rational thought and executive function.
The boss isn't managing the alarm.
Precisely. This disconnect can lead to a snowballing effect of fear memories. For someone like my patient, Ellen, who suffered from social anxiety, she dreaded social gatherings and even small talk. The more she withdrew, the scarier the prospect became, her brain wiring in that fear memory until it was hard to distinguish genuine danger from social safety.
I remember Amy's path to control so clearly, using exercise to gain vital agency over her anxiety. What was her situation, and how did exercise help her specifically?
Amy was going through an incredibly contentious divorce, facing supervised visits with her children, and felt utterly overwhelmed by worry and panic. She initially tried Prozac, which calmed her nerves, but left her feeling unmotivated and apathetic, so she stopped. I encouraged her to integrate aerobic exercise, and she purchased an elliptical trainer. Gradually, she established a consistent routine, doing 30 minutes every morning, often followed by Kripalu yoga. What she quickly discovered was incredibly empowering. If she felt an anxious wave or panic rising, she could jump on the elliptical for 10 or 15 minutes and quell those feelings on the spot.
Instant relief.
Pretty much. She gained a vital, immediate sense of control over her physical and mental state.
That's powerful. Is there scientific validation for how exercise helps in learning to discriminate danger cues, particularly with anxiety?
Absolutely. A 2004 study by Joshua Broman folks found that high-intensity exercise more quickly and effectively reduced anxiety sensitivity in college students. The underlying theory is critical. When we experience increased heart rate and rapid breathing during vigorous exercise, our brains learn that these physical signs don't always mean danger or an impending panic attack.
Decoupling the physical sensation from the fear.
Exactly. We become more comfortable with physiological arousal and don't automatically interpret it as noxious or threatening. This literally trains the brain to discriminate more accurately between real threats and benign, physically demanding situations.
So it's about retraining the brain's alarm system. While we can't truly erase original fear memories, how does exercise help drown them out and create new, more adaptive responses?
That's a crucial point. While original fear memories are deeply encoded and cannot be simply erased, they can be effectively drowned out by building new, neutral memories and creating parallel neural circuitry. Exercise is a powerful mode of active coping. As Joseph Ledoux, a renowned fear expert, suggests, by making a conscious decision to act in the face of anxiety to physically move, we quite literally shift the flow of information in the brain, forging new pathways. This helps to disconnect the trigger from the automatic, ingrained anxious response.
And what specific brain resources does exercise build to achieve this, helping to calm the anxiety response?
Exercise builds significant brain resources to help manage anxiety. It increases the availability of serotonin, which is vital for regulating anxiety circuitry and calming the amygdala. It also modulates norepinephrine, the neurotransmitter associated with arousal, helping to prevent an overactive stress response. Furthermore, it boosts GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter that acts much like a natural tranquilizer, akin to the effects of Xanax.
Like a natural break.
A natural break, exactly. And of course, it enhances BDNF, which is crucial for cementing these new alternative and less anxious memories. For my patient Ellen, the socially anxious woman, exercise calmed her nerves enough to enable her to actually practice interacting with employees and clients, slowly but surely breaking her debilitating cycle of social withdrawal. This is precisely what Naperville's square dancing class does for kids, offering a structured, incremental environment to neutralize social fears.
Here's a landmark study that really makes the case, the 1997 Brooks study. What did it find when comparing exercise to medication for panic disorder?
The 1997 Brooks study was truly landmark. It rigorously compared 3 interventions for panic disorder: regular exercise, an antidepressant called clomipramine, and a placebo. The findings were quite compelling. Both the medication group and the exercise group achieved the same significant level of improvement and remission after 10 weeks.
The same level.
The same level. While the medication worked faster initially, the exercise group's initial lag was often due to having to confront their agoraphobia as they were asked to walk or run outside. But 2 patients in the study actually experienced panic attacks while running, chose to keep going, and remarkably, the attacks subsided.
That's incredible. And what's the scientific explanation for how exercise dampens the sympathetic nervous system, essentially acting like a natural beta blocker for anxiety?
A key insight here is the role of ANP, or atrial natriuretic peptide, a hormone secreted by heart muscles during exercise. ANP is particularly fascinating because it crosses the blood-brain barrier and directly dampens the sympathetic nervous system, your body's fight-or-flight response, effectively reducing anxiousness, much like pharmaceutical beta blockers do.
So the heart itself releases something that calms the system.
Precisely. This explains why exercise can act as such a powerful natural brake on the stress response. Ultimately, achieving tangible results through exercise, as Amy did, builds profound confidence in one's own coping ability, offering a significant and empowering advantage over relying solely on medication.
Next, let's talk about depression. I often think of depression as an erosion of connections, not just in your life and relationships, but quite literally between your brain cells. Can you elaborate on that, and how does chronic depression actually impact the brain structure?
That's a very insightful way to put it. Depression, at its core, represents a communication breakdown within the brain, a loss of the brain's ability to adapt and connect. The latest neuroimaging studies show that chronic depression can indeed cause structural damage, physically shriveling the hippocampus by up to 15%.
15%, that's huge.
It is huge. This significant volume loss directly contributes to the learning and memory issues often seen in depressed patients. The stress hormone cortisol, when chronically elevated, actively kills neurons in the hippocampus and causes dendrites, those tree-like branches we discussed earlier, to wither, profoundly disrupting neural communication pathways.
But here's the good news. Exercise acts as a powerful countermeasure. How does it work on a neurochemical level to restore balance and improve mood?
Exercise acts as a profound countermeasure. It immediately elevates norepinephrine, which helps to wake up the brain, improve self-esteem, and sharpen focus. It also significantly boosts dopamine, the neurotransmitter crucial for enhancing mood, promoting feelings of wellness, driving motivation, and sustaining attention. What's more, regular exercise can actually increase dopamine storage and spur the production of new dopamine receptors in the brain's reward center. This creates a more stable, enduring feeling of satisfaction and reward when you accomplish something, providing a more stable regulation of these critical pathways essential for overall mood stability.
This brings us to the pivotal SMILE study from 2007. This study, in my opinion, should be widely known and taught in medical schools. What did it find regarding exercise as a treatment for clinical depression?
The 2007 SMILE study, led by James Blumenthal, was indeed groundbreaking, and its findings are vital. It found that a regimen of supervised walking or jogging, performed 3 times a week for 30 minutes at moderate intensity, was as effective as the commonly prescribed antidepressant Zoloft in treating clinical depression.
As effective as Zoloft.
As effective. About half of both the exercise group and the medication group achieved full remission. This is a crucial piece of evidence that absolutely should be widely known, integrated into medical education, and considered by every health insurance company. Imagine the impact if everyone understood that exercise could be as effective as a leading antidepressant.
And what's the potential link between exercise's antidepressant effect and neurogenesis, the growth of new neurons?
A key insight here is the neurogenesis link. It's long been observed that antidepressants often take about 3 weeks to begin showing their therapeutic effects. Is it a mere coincidence that it takes roughly 28 days for new stem cells, newly born in the hippocampus, to fully mature, plug into existing neural networks, and become functional?
Probably not a coincidence.
Many researchers think not. Exercise clearly and powerfully elevates BDNF, that miracle grow for the brain, along with other crucial growth factors essential for this entire process of neurogenesis. This mechanism is increasingly understood as a core way in which exercise combats depression, rebuilding the very structures that are eroded by the condition.
So exercise truly offers a dual-direction attack on depression. How does it work both bottom-up and top-down to free the mind from pessimistic patterns?
The beauty of exercise in treating depression lies in its dual-direction attack. From the bottom up, it stimulates the brainstem, directly boosting your energy levels, igniting passion, and enhancing motivation. You literally feel more vigorous and alive. From the top down, operating within the prefrontal cortex, exercise shifts your self-concept and perception. It achieves this by adjusting all those key neurochemicals we've discussed: serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, BDNF, and BEGF, restoring normal, healthy signaling.
Right.
This neurochemical rebalancing frees the prefrontal cortex to break out of pessimistic thought patterns. It also serves as undeniable, tangible proof of your own ability to take initiative and make a positive change, often leading to a feeling of being better than well.
And what about the dosage of exercise for depression? Does intensity or duration matter, or is any activity equally effective?
Dosage absolutely matters. The Ratey and Dunn study provided clear evidence here. It showed that high-intensity exercise, burning around 1,400 calories per week, which translates to about 3 hours of moderate-intensity activity, cut depression scores in half.
Cut them in half.
Exactly. In stark contrast, low-intensity exercise, burning only 560 calories per week, was far less effective, performing more like a placebo. This strongly suggests that while some exercise is beneficial, consistently pushing yourself to a moderate or higher intensity generally yields greater antidepressant effects. And here's something crucial for everyone. Exercise is arguably even more important for prevention, especially when you notice early symptoms like sleep disturbance, a lack of interest, or persistent low mood. It's about proactively running from depression by establishing a consistent daily routine and maintaining that crucial calorie burn.
Let's shift gears to attention deficit, specifically how exercise helps engineer focus and control. ADHD isn't about laziness, it's a biological malfunction. How would you describe what's actually happening in the brain for someone with ADHD?
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is indeed not a character flaw or laziness. It stems from a malfunction within a diffuse network of neurons that profoundly control arousal, motivation, reward processing, executive function, and movement. A key aspect is that motivation, like all psychological aspects, is deeply biological, intrinsically linked to the brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens, and its key neurotransmitter, dopamine. This explains why some individuals with ADHD can hyperfocus on video games for hours, but struggle to concentrate in a classroom setting. It's about what sufficiently stimulates their reward center and sustains their attention.
This brings us to Sam's transformation. He had academic struggles due to ADHD, but then excelled in college through highly structured physical activity. What was his journey, and how did this disciplined regimen become his turning point?
Sam's transformation is a powerful illustration. Despite significant academic struggles during his earlier years due to ADHD, he found profound success in college through the rigid structure and rigorous physical activity of Division III football and lacrosse. This disciplined regimen became his unmistakable turning point. The intense physical demands and consistent structure of these sports allowed him to function much better in all aspects of his life. Today, he's a highly successful rainmaker in venture capital, a role that thrives on intense pressure.
Interesting.
This pressure actually allows him to laser focus and obsess over every angle of a deal, a capability he credits to the sustained focus cultivated through his athletic endeavors. His daily runs continue to support this laser focus.
What's truly fascinating here is this seemingly paradoxical treatment for ADHD. You'd think more movement would be distracting, but you advocate for highly structured, complex motor activities. Why are these so effective?
It does seem paradoxical, doesn't it? But highly structured, complex motor activities like martial arts, ballet, rock climbing, or even skateboarding are particularly effective for ADHD precisely because they challenge both the brain and the body simultaneously. These activities engage and intensely train those overlapping attention and movement systems in the brain.
So it's the complexity, not just the movement.
Exactly. It's not just about general aerobic exercise. It's the cognitive complexity integrated into the physical movement that truly helps. For instance, the DD program, which stands for dyslexia, dyspraxia, and attention treatment, uses specific physical movements to train the cerebellum, directly supporting the idea that coordinating movement can profoundly impact attention and learning.
And on a neurochemical level, how does exercise specifically optimize the brain for focus and control, mirroring the effects of ADHD medications?
On a neurochemical level, exercise immediately increases the availability of dopamine and norepinephrine, which are the very neurotransmitters targeted by stimulant ADHD medications.
The same ones.
The very same ones. Regular, consistent exercise can actually raise your baseline levels of these crucial chemicals by spurring the growth of new receptors in key brain areas, including the locus coeruleus, which is your brain's primary arousal center. This helps to reduce irritability and overreaction, common challenges for those with ADHD. Moreover, ADHD often impairs working memory, leading to difficulty sustaining attention, planning, and tracking time. Exercise helps to funnel attention in the right direction, strengthening the neural pathways necessary for these executive functions.
Jackson's journey is a compelling example of self-management. He battled ADHD, anxiety, and depression for years. How did he eventually learn to steer his own future through exercise?
Jackson's story is incredibly powerful. He struggled for years, cycling through multiple medications for ADHD, anxiety, and depression, feeling trapped by his conditions. Through personal experimentation, he eventually discovered that running provided a profound sense of focus and calm.
He found it himself.
He did. This pivotal insight led him to gradually reduce and eventually eliminate his medication, an empowering step that resulted in significantly improved grades and a much better self-perception. He learned to truly steer his own future through exercise, effectively using running as his personal medicine, demonstrating how self-awareness and consistent action can lead to remarkable autonomy.
What practical strategies can listeners with ADHD implement, building on these insights?
For individuals managing ADHD, militant vigilance in scheduling and structure is key. Incorporating morning exercise can be particularly impactful, helping to set the day's tone by immediately boosting those critical neurotransmitters and sharpening focus. Exercise can also allow for lower doses of stimulant medication, potentially reducing side effects. And remember, choosing complex, focus-intensive sports like martial arts, climbing, or even team sports requiring strategic thinking rather than just basic cardio tends to be far more engaging and self-perpetuating. The more involved and mentally stimulating the activity, the more likely you are to stick with it and reap its profound brain benefits.
Now let's talk about addiction. This is a formidable challenge for so many. How can exercise serve as a direct counterforce to drug-addictive behavior, even acting as a form of inoculation against relapse?
Exercise truly can be a direct counterforce to drug-addictive behavior, and in many ways, it's the best form of inoculation against relapse. This is because it actively builds the very physical and mental acuity that drugs deplete. As a treatment, exercise works on two powerful levels, top-down and bottom-up.
Okay, explain that.
From the top down, it forces the brain to adapt to new stimuli, encouraging the learning of healthy coping scenarios and routines. From the bottom up, it physically blunts urges and cravings by engaging primitive brain elements and building synaptic detours around deeply ingrained drug memories.
What's fascinating here is the overlap between ADHD and addiction in the brain's reward center. Can you explain how dopamine signals become skewed for addicts and what salience means in this context?
What's truly compelling is the significant overlap between ADHD and addiction in the brain's reward center, where dopamine signals become profoundly skewed. For individuals struggling with addiction, normally satisfying stimuli like the joy of love, the pleasure of good food, or the satisfaction of accomplishment become bland or muted compared to the overwhelming salience of the drug high.
Salience, meaning importance.
Exactly. Salience here refers to the intense importance or compelling nature that the drug takes on in the addict's brain, literally overshadowing all other stimuli. This occurs because addiction can cause the dendrites in the nucleus accumbens, a key part of the reward center, to bloom and increase synaptic connections, reinforcing the drug memory with immense power. The brain learns something too well, too powerfully.
Rusty's redemption story illustrates this beautifully. He was at rock bottom, but through an unconventional suggestion, exercise became a conduit for shifting his focus. Tell us about his transformation.
Rusty's story is a profound example of redirection. He was hospitalized after a suicide attempt, battled severe drug abuse, and was facing jail time. He initially didn't like traditional exercise. I suggested Dance Dance Revolution, the interactive video game, thinking it might appeal to his interest in focused activity.
TDR, right.
Exactly. He agreed, and almost immediately he found it blunted his cravings, filled his idle time, and gave him an immediate, tangible sense of accomplishment. This seemingly small victory snowballed, leading him to rock climbing, then soccer, and eventually scuba diving. Exercise became a powerful conduit for shifting his focus to a productive, fulfilling life, literally helping him reprogram his basal ganglia to build alternative, healthy, reflexive behaviors that brought him a genuine sense of purpose.
Zoe's breakthrough is equally compelling, demonstrating how exercise can be that fast reward for the brain. What was her experience with chronic marijuana use, and how did exercise help her break free?
Zoe's breakthrough highlights the immediate gratification of exercise. She was a chronic marijuana smoker for 20 years. Struggling deeply with severe ADHD, depression, and aggression. Despite numerous attempts, she always relapsed. After learning about how exercise could fundamentally change her brain chemistry, she made a committed decision to incorporate daily exercise, embracing cycling and jump rope. This consistent physical activity profoundly helped her successfully quit marijuana and even navigate a challenging divorce with newfound resilience. She discovered that exercise truly was the fast reward she craved, a natural, positive high that satisfied her brain's need for immediate gratification without the devastating downsides of drugs.
That natural high is fascinating. We often hear about runner's high, but how does the science explain it, extending beyond just endorphins?
The runner's high is indeed a compelling phenomenon, and our understanding has expanded significantly beyond just endorphins. Scientists have now broadened their focus to include endocannabinoids, particularly compounds like anandamide and 2-AG, which are produced by the body during exercise.
Like cannabis.
Exactly. What's truly remarkable is that these endocannabinoids act very much like the active compound in marijuana, THC, binding to the same receptors in the brain that dull pain and create feelings of euphoria and relaxation. Crucially, unlike endorphins, endocannabinoids easily cross the blood-brain barrier, directly influencing brain chemistry. One study showed anandamide levels nearly doubled after just 50 minutes of running. This explains why we often feel so relaxed, satisfied, and experience a sense of well-being after moderately intense exercise.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, quitting addiction often leaves a profound void. How does exercise offer a positive, natural way to fill this emptiness and build resilience?
When someone quits an addiction, it often creates a significant emptiness in their life. A void where the drug once filled time, provided stimulation, and offered a false sense of comfort. Exercise offers a positive, natural, and remarkably effective way to fill this void. It allows individuals to re-engage with the world, build genuine resilience against the anxiety and depression that often undermine recovery efforts. It helps manage the acute stress and physical symptoms of withdrawal, and perhaps most importantly, it fosters a profound sense of accomplishment and self-efficacy. It's about replacing the full-time, destructive pursuit of drugs with a healthy, productive, and intrinsically rewarding life.
Let's discuss women's brain health, specifically how exercise helps balance hormonal flux throughout different life stages. Hormones have a profound influence, don't they?
They absolutely do. Fluctuating hormone levels in women significantly impact brain health, feelings, behaviors, and even personality traits across the lifespan. Exercise plays a critical role in toning down negative consequences and enhancing positive ones, helping to balance the system on a monthly basis during pregnancy and through menopause. It provides a consistent internal anchor against these often dramatic physiological shifts.
Take PMS management, for instance. My patient Patty learned early on that aerobic exercise dramatically reduced her symptoms. How does it work on a neurochemical level to offer that relief?
Patty, an active former model, discovered early in her life that consistent aerobic exercise, specifically an hour of cardio 4 days a week in the week leading up to her period, dramatically reduced her PMS symptoms. She experienced fewer mood swings, less aggression and irritability, and a remarkable clearing of her mental fog.
Wow, that's specific.
Very specific. On a neurochemical level, exercise helps in several ways. It increases tryptophan, which is a precursor for serotonin production, directly influencing mood. It also balances the levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, both crucial for emotional stability. Furthermore, it modulates synaptic mediators like BDNF, and importantly, influences the balance of excitatory, glutamate, and inhibitory GABA neurotransmitters. Studies show exercise turns on genes that produce GABA, essentially putting brakes on excessive cellular activity and helping to calm the nervous system.
Pregnancy also sees profound benefits from physical activity. Beyond the obvious physical advantages, what are the surprising neurological benefits for the baby, according to studies?
Beyond the obvious benefits of lowering stress and anxiety for the mother and improving her mood, physical activity during pregnancy reduces risks like gestational diabetes, which can impact fetal development. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. James Clapp's groundbreaking studies showed that babies of exercising mothers were more neurologically developed, more responsive to stimuli, and better able to self-quiet themselves after birth.
Better able to self-quiet.
Yes. By age 5, these children even showed statistically significant differences in IQ and oral language skills. His theory: the gentle physical jostling in the womb during maternal exercise might provide beneficial neurological stimulation to the developing fetal brain.
Postpartum depression, or PPD, is a devastating experience for many new mothers. Stacy's story is a dramatic example. How did exercise help her navigate this profound emotional challenge?
Stacy's story is a testament to exercise's power against PPD. Despite no prior history of depression, she experienced severe postpartum depression after her first child, feeling exhausted, numb, and losing interest in everything, including her baby. Her husband, Tony, determined to help, acquired an elliptical trainer.
Good husband.
Indeed. Stacy quickly found that just 20-minute workouts dramatically improved her sleep, mood, and energy, effectively countering the numb feeling she got from the antidepressant Lexapro she had been prescribed. PTD is strongly linked to the plummeting of hormones after childbirth, and exercise provides a powerful countermeasure by normalizing neurotransmitter levels. Studies consistently show that exercise, even something as simple as walking with a stroller, is highly effective, and fit mothers generally have a lower incidence of PPD and higher confidence in their new role.
And looking further down the road, how does exercise specifically benefit women during menopause and in aging, particularly concerning brain volume and mental health risks?
A key insight here is that exercise can actually offset the decline in brain volume often observed with aging, particularly in women. Women are twice as likely as men to suffer from anxiety and depression, and that risk doubles during the profound hormonal fluctuations of menopause. Doubles. Exercise significantly lowers both physical symptoms, like hot flashes and night sweats, and crucial mental symptoms like anxiety and depression. The message for women is clear. While external appearance might be a powerful initial motivation, understanding the profound, lifelong benefits of exercise for mental health and cognitive function is critical for making it a non-negotiable priority, especially as life gets more complicated and demanding.
This brings us to aging, cultivating lifelong brain resilience. There's a common misconception that physical and cognitive decline is inevitable with age. What's the reality, and how can lifestyle play a role?
That misconception is prevalent, but falling apart with age is absolutely not inevitable. We see inspiring examples of individuals living to be 100 with very few health problems, powerfully showcasing the impact of lifestyle choices. Cellular aging does involve certain changes: a reduced ability to adapt to stress, synaptic erosion, dendrite shrinkage, restricted blood flow, decreased production of crucial neurotrophins like BDNF and VEGF, and slower dopamine production in neurogenesis. However, wisdom, in a way, is the brain's remarkable ability to compensate for this natural loss of efficiency through continued engagement and activity.
Your own mother, Ratey, was known as the fast walker. Her story sounds like a testament to lifelong activity. Can you share a bit about her example?
My own mother, Ratey, was indeed legendary for her vigor. She was known as the fast walker. She remained incredibly sharp and vibrant well into her 80s, despite later hip fractures. Her routine was a testament to active living. She walked everywhere, golfed, swam, and was constantly involved in bridge games and dancing. Her lifelong habit of vigorous physical activity and active social and mental involvement was, I'm absolutely certain, what kept her so sharp and engaged for so long. She kept moving, kept learning, and kept connecting, even after her second husband died in her early 70s.
And then there's Harold, an 80-year-old skier. What does his story tell us about maintaining physical and mental well-being into advanced age?
Harold's story is equally inspiring. He's an 80-year-old former engineer who meticulously maintains a 5-day-a-week gym regimen, incorporating weights, balance drills, and aerobic no-step, specifically to ensure he can continue skiing and golfing, his passions.
Still skiing at 80.
Still skiing. He attributes his profound mental and emotional well-being and remarkable stress reduction directly to his consistent exercise. He's living proof that you don't have to be an elite athlete to reap these profound benefits. This also ties into the truly fascinating case of Sister Bernadette, a nun who died at 85, scoring in the 90th percentile on cognitive tests, yet her brain showed massive Alzheimer's damage post-mortem.
Wow, cognitive reserve.
Exactly. This powerfully illustrates that consistent mental activity and a healthy lifestyle can build significant cognitive reserve, allowing the brain to compensate for underlying pathology and maintain function despite disease.
So how exactly does exercise specifically preserve brain health as we age, countering those cellular changes you mentioned?
Exercise preserves brain health and aging through multiple interconnected mechanisms. First, it profoundly strengthens the cardiovascular system. A strong heart and healthy lungs reduce strain on brain vessels, promoting the growth of new blood vessels through factors like VEGF, FGF2, and nitric oxide. This counteracts arterial hardening and significantly improves cognitive scores, even in stroke and Alzheimer's patients. Second, it directly counteracts obesity, which doubles dementia risk and increases it sixfold when combined with high blood pressure and cholesterol.
Sixfold.
Yes. Exercise not only burns calories, but also helps regulate appetite, mitigating these risks. Third, exercise fortifies your bones, preventing osteoporosis, which is a major cause of disability and mortality in seniors. Strength training and weight-bearing activities are absolutely crucial here. Fourth, it provides significant cognitive benefits. Arthur Kramer's study showed that sedentary seniors who began a 6-month walking regimen improved their VO2 max by 16%, and remarkably, saw a corresponding 16% improvement in their cognitive function.
16% improvement just from walking.
Fifth, consistent exercise builds a molecular memory in the hippocampus for producing BDNF, meaning that over time, your brain becomes more efficient at generating this crucial growth factor.
And finally, social connection plays a huge, often underestimated role. How does interacting with others amplify exercise's brain-boosting benefits, especially as we age?
Social connection is indeed hugely important. Elizabeth Gould's research on rodents compellingly showed that social interaction significantly boosts neurogenesis, actively blunting the negative effects of cortisol that can arise from isolation. Interestingly, even isolated runners, if they exercised alone, showed lower new cell proliferation than group house runners who exercised.
Oh, why is that?
Because the cumulative stress of intense running combined with being alone elevated their cortisol. So actively joining groups, teams, or simply exercising with friends can profoundly amplify the brain-boosting benefits of physical activity. It's a powerful reminder that our social lives are as vital to our brain as our physical activity.
So after this extensive deep dive into the science, what does this all mean for your daily regimen? How do you practically apply these insights for a sharper, more resilient brain? While public health recommendations like 30 minutes of moderate aerobic activity 5 days a week are often cited, what's your ultimate guidance?
My guidance would be to understand that those public health recommendations are often minimums. It's important for you listening to know that generally, more duration or intensity, when safely managed, yields greater gains in brain health. To find your optimal dose, consider embracing what I call the ancestral rhythm of our hunter-gatherer forebears. We evolved for varied intensity. First, walking at low intensity, aim for 55-65% of your maximum heart rate. This is fundamental. This is ideal for building your aerobic base, efficiently burning fat, and generating those crucial nourishing molecules we discuss, like IGF-1 and VEGF, that travel to the brain.
Okay, the base layer.
Exactly. Aim for about an hour daily, whether it's a brisk walk through your neighborhood or incorporating more steps into your day. Next, jogging at moderate intensity, 65-75% of your max heart rate. This shifts your metabolism to burn glucose more efficiently, but also critically builds new capillaries in your brain through the release of VEGF and FGF2, improving blood flow. It also produces metabolic cleanup crews inside your brain cells, keeping them healthy. This intensity strengthens neural circuits and finely tunes your HPA axis. That's your body's central stress response system, making it less trigger-happy to everyday stressors. Building an adequate recovery after these sessions is crucial. And finally, running or sprinting at high intensity, 75–90% of your max heart rate. This truly triggers a powerful emergency response in your body. This releases human growth hormone, HGH, which in turn boosts all those vital brain growth factors. This is where you confront the self, pushing your limits both physically and mentally, often leading to moments of psychological transcendence and that coveted runner's high, fueled not just by endorphins, but also by ANP and those beneficial endocannabinoids we discussed. Integrating all three levels of intensity into your week provides a comprehensive brain workout
To accurately gauge your exertion and ensure you're staying in these target heart rate zones, especially for those higher intensities, what tools do you recommend?
To accurately gauge your exertion and truly optimize your workout, heart rate monitors are indispensable. These simple, inexpensive tools, typically consisting of a chest strap that transmits data to a digital watch, were the cornerstone of Naperville's revolutionary PE program.
Back to Naperville again.
Exactly. They provide real-time feedback, beeping if your heart rate strays outside your target zone. This immediate feedback makes it incredibly easy to listen to your body, understand your effort, and ensure you're getting the right intensity for maximum brain benefits without overdoing it.
Beyond pure aerobics, what other forms of exercise are crucial for a truly comprehensive brain health regimen?
Absolutely. Beyond pure aerobics, it's vital to incorporate strength training about 2 times a week, performing 3 sets of 10–15 repetitions for each major muscle group. This isn't just about building muscle, it's critical for bone health, actively preventing osteoporosis and counteracting age-related muscle atrophy, which can impact balance and mobility. Strength training also influences the release of HGH. Additionally, devote dedicated time to balance and flexibility exercises twice a week for about 30 minutes. Activities like yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, dance, or even simply using exercise balls improve agility, coordination, and overall adherence to your exercise routine by reducing stiffness and enhancing body awareness. These elements create a holistic physical foundation for brain health.
And as a quick yet crucial mention, what about the dietary pillars for a truly healthy lifestyle that supports brain function?
While movement is key, what you put into your body is just as crucial for optimal brain health. First, let's consider calorie restriction. Studies in rodents, though still being explored in humans, suggest that consuming around 30% fewer calories can extend life by as much as 40%. Neuroscientist Mark Mattson, for instance, practices light eating, often skipping breakfast and having a light salad for lunch, as a mild cellular stressor that activates cellular repair pathways. Then there are brain-boosting foods. Think of a diverse array of plants. Ingredients like cumin, garlic, onions, and broccoli contain beneficial compounds that can act as mild cellular stressors, strengthening the brain. And of course, a rich intake of antioxidants from sources like blueberries, pomegranate spinach, and beets helps protect brain cells from damage. Even green tea and moderate red wine consumption have shown neuroprotective benefits. And beyond specific foods, focus on key nutrients. Whole grains like oats, quinoa, or brown rice provide steady energy and deliver vital amino acids, such as tryptophan, which is a direct precursor to serotonin, that feel-good neurotransmitter we've discussed.
Steady energy, stable mood.
Exactly. So stable energy means stable mood. Then there are healthy fats, particularly omega-3s found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, or plant-based sources like flax seeds and walnuts. These aren't just good fats. They are literally the essential building blocks for healthy brain cell membranes, crucial for efficient communication pathways between neurons. Studies have even shown that eating fish just once a week can slow cognitive decline by a remarkable 10%. That's a powerful, tangible benefit for brain longevity. And while diet is primary, certain supplements can act as a crucial support for your brain's performance. Consider vitamin D, about 1,000 IU, which plays a surprising role in brain health and mood regulation. And B vitamins, especially folate, around 800 milligrams, are essential for cognitive function, boosting both memory and processing speed. It's about creating the most optimal internal environment to support all that amazing brain activity.
That's incredibly comprehensive advice. But the biggest challenge for many is simply the stick-with-it strategy. We know about half of new exercisers drop out within 6 months to a year. What's the secret to consistent adherence, transforming it from a chore to something you genuinely enjoy?
You're right, the dropout rate is high, often because people start too intensely, feel bad, and then quit, reinforcing a negative cycle. The key is to start slow, avoid overwhelming yourself from the outset, and truly understand that initial discomfort will give way to profoundly positive feelings. The real secret lies in finding activities you genuinely enjoy and, crucially, incorporating social connection.
Ah, the social piece again.
Yes. Whether it's joining a team sport, training for a charity run with friends, or simply committing to a daily walk with a loved one, the choice is entirely yours. The beauty of exercise is that it offers a vast array of possibilities, and finding one that resonates deeply with you is paramount to making it a sustainable, joyful, and brain-boosting habit.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's reaffirm what we've uncovered. Exercise isn't just about physical health or fitting into a certain size. It is a fundamental biological imperative for optimal brain function. It improves your learning capacity, elevates your mood, sharpens your attention, and builds incredible resilience. From the academically excelling students of Naperville to individuals overcoming profound challenges like anxiety, depression, and addiction, the evidence is compelling, universal, and profoundly inspiring.
Your body was designed to be pushed, and in consistently pushing your body, you inherently push and train your brain too. Exercise is a powerful, accessible, and completely natural way to directly influence your biology, actively rewire your brain for the better, and reshape your entire future. It truly is the ultimate drug without any of the negative side effects.
So we invite you to consider, what will be your spark? How will you integrate consistent movement into your life? Not as a chore, but as something you want to do, unlocking your brain's full, incredible potential. What small, intentional step will you take today to embrace your inner mover and cultivate a stronger, sharper, more resilient mind?